I found an old phone in my grandma's house. You probably know that strange feeling when you walk into an old house where no one's lived for a long time. The air feels heavy, stale, like even the walls remember something. That's exactly how it felt when I entered my grandma's house after she passed away. The house stood on the edge of the village, a place I never liked visiting. It felt like it had been ripped out of time. An old wardrobe, cracked wallpaper, a clock that had stopped long ago. But one thing stood out to me, more than anything else. In my grandma's bedroom, on the nightstand under a thick layer of dust, there was a phone. Not a smartphone, not a classic Nokia. It was some strange old device, black, with a small screen. I'd guess it was around 20 years old. But I had never seen a model like it before. I picked it up. It was cold, like metal. And, imagine this. When I pressed a button, the screen lit up. The first warning: the phone wasn't plugged in. The house hadn't had electricity for years. But the battery showed full on the screen. A single message was blinking. Don't open the door after midnight. At first, I laughed, probably some kind of joke. But the laughter quickly faded when I saw the date. The message had been sent tomorrow. Night #1. That evening, I decided to spend the night in the house. There were no hotels in the village, and driving back would have taken too long. I unfolded the old bed and tried to sleep, but I couldn't close my eyes. Somewhere in the corners of the house, things were rustling. The walls creaked, and one thought kept spinning in my head. Who could have sent that message? At exactly 11:59 p.m., the phone, still lying on the nightstand, vibrated. I picked it up. A new message.
He's coming.
I froze. My heart started pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Who was he? I walked to the window. The yard was still dark. No movement. And then I heard footsteps. Voices at the door. At first, they were soft, like rustling. Then louder. Someone was walking right outside the house. I crept up to the door. My hand touched the cold dirt knob. And then the phone vibrated again. A new message. Don't open it. You won't see him, but he'll see you. I jerked my hand back like I'd been burned. The footsteps stopped. Silence. I stood there, too scared to even breathe. And then, someone knocked on the door. 3 times. Something's wrong. I couldn't take it anymore. I ran into the bedroom, threw myself onto the bed, and pulled the blanket over my head like a little kid. The phone kept blinking in the dark. I looked again, and froze. A photo gallery had appeared on the screen. New photos, taken just a minute ago. I opened the first one. It was a photo of my house, from the outside. Dark, grainy, but clearly recent. The second, my window. The third, me, lying in bed, blanket pulled over my head. The photo was taken from above. I was alone in the house. I stared at the photo of myself lying in bed for a long time. My throat was dry, and my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. This is impossible, I whispered to myself. The house was silent, utterly, oppressively silent, but I knew for sure, someone had just been here. Someone had stood over me and taken that photo. I rushed to check every room. Opened closets, looked under the bed. I even went down into the basement, though it had always been damp and creepy. Nothing. No one. Not a single trace. And then the phone vibrated again. A new message flashed on the screen. You weren't supposed to look. Evidence that shouldn't exist. I ran outside, hoping maybe I'd catch someone fleeing, but the yard was empty. Only the old apple tree cast shadows across the fence. I sat down on the porch and scrolled through the photos again and again. They were real. Not edited. Not some weird glitch. I recognized everything. The items in my room, the blanket, even the scratch on the wall. And one more detail made my blood run cold. In the last photo, the one of me lying in bed, in the dark corner behind me stood a figure. Tall, thin, with unnaturally long arms. The call. Suddenly, the phone rang. That same old, heavy device, with a shrill ringtone that sent chills down my spine. No number showed on the screen. Just one word. Will you answer? I didn't know what to do. My heart was pounding, my head spinning. But something deep inside told me, If I didn't pick up, it would be worse. I pressed the button. Hello. Silence. Then static. And then, a faint voice. Don't open the door, please don't open it. The call cut off. Grandma's notes. I found myself back in the bedroom, where I'd discovered the phone. And that's when I noticed something. An old notebook lying under the nightstand. Grandma's handwriting. I opened it. The first pages were normal. Recipes. Shopping lists. But then everything changed. The writing became shaky, confused. The letters trembled.
He comes at midnight.
Don't look out the window. Don't speak. The phone will warn you. It's the only way to survive. After that came dates. Each night documented. And next to every single one, the same phrase. He was here. I dropped the notebook. A tight knot of fear clenched inside me. Night pound 2. It was just minutes to midnight. I sat in the dark, holding the phone, counting every second. 11:59 p.m. The phone vibrated. A message. Don't breathe loudly. He's under the window. I flinched. Slowly, afraid to move. I stepped toward the curtain and pulled it back just a tiny bit. At first, nothing. Then, I saw the shadow. It stood still, very tall, and it looked like it was staring straight at me. I stumbled backward from the window, fell to the floor. The phone vibrated again. You made a mistake. And at that exact moment, long fingers traced across the glass. Marks on the glass. I sat on the floor, trembling, unable to take my eyes off the window. The fingers that had just slid across the glass left long, dark streaks, as if someone had scratched the surface with something sharp. The phone vibrated again. A new message. Don't go outside. He knows you are watching. I slid away from the window, pressing my back to the wall. The room was dark, only the phone screen lit up, like a lone island of light in the surrounding blackness. Locked doors. I decided to check the front door. The handle was ice cold. I tried to turn it. The door wouldn't budge. I pulled harder. It felt like someone was holding it from the outside. And then I heard a voice. Low, muffled, but it felt like it was speaking directly inside my head. Open it. The phone rang instantly. I grabbed it, hands shaking. On the screen, don't listen to him. I pulled away from the door. The voice stopped. Only my breathing and the wild pounding of my heart remained. Another note. I remembered Grandma's notebook. I grabbed it and started flipping through more pages. One folded page had a message. He can only enter if you open the door yourself. He doesn't break locks. He makes you want to. And below it, the phone doesn't lie. But the phone isn't always on your side. I read that line over and over again until it finally sank in. Maybe the phone isn't entirely a friend either. Midnight hours. I fell asleep sitting up, the phone still in my hands. I woke to a strange feeling. It was still dark, but I knew I wasn't alone in the room. Slowly, I turned my head. In the corner, next to the old wardrobe, a figure was standing. Tall, unnaturally thin, and it wasn't moving. I froze. The phone vibrated. Don't look him in the eyes. But I already was. And suddenly, in the darkness, two faint glimmers appeared. Eyes. They glowed a dull, sickly green, like a cat's. Escape. I grabbed the flashlight from the table and switched it on. I aimed the beam at the corner. Empty. No one. But when I lowered the beam to the floor, footprints. Wet, barefoot prints on the wooden floor, leading from the wardrobe straight to my bed. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I snatched the phone and ran into the hallway. Down the stairs, straight to the front door, still locked. I slammed my shoulder into it. Nothing. The phone lit up with a new message. You won't get out. Just wait for morning. And underneath it, another line appeared automatically. No vibration. No alert. Just text.
There will be no morning.
No way out. I stood by the door, gasping for breath, not knowing what to do. The phone was in my hand, its glow shining straight into my face. Messages kept coming in, one after another. Don't move. He's near. Breathe quieter. I tried to turn the phone off, pressed every button, but the screen wouldn't go dark. It glowed on its own. The voice on the line. Suddenly, the device rang again. A sharp, painful sound that made me want to cover my ears. I answered. Silence. And then my own voice. You've already lost. I almost dropped the phone. It was a recording, a perfect copy of my voice. But I'd never said that. What do you want from me? I shouted. No answer. And then, another voice. Hello. As if coming from inside the phone itself. Give yourself. Grandma's secret. I ran back to the notebook. Flipped to the last few pages. There was only one message, written in a trembling hand. The phone is a door. It always finds a new one. I lasted 30 nights. Then I gave in. Now it's your turn. The ink was smudged, like it had been mixed with tears. Footsteps. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. Slow, heavy, getting closer. I pressed myself against the wall. The phone glowed in the darkness. The screen flickered with messages changing so fast I could barely read them. He's coming. Don't look back. Don't look back. Don't look back. But I looked. And I saw the silhouette just a few steps away. The phone takes over. The screen lit up with a blinding white light. And then I realized my fingers were moving on their own, typing something. I tried to let go of the phone, but I couldn't. My hands wouldn't listen to me. Text appeared on the screen. Your turn to send the messages. And that's when I understood. The phone was making me send them to someone else. Someone who would come to this house next. The end of the night. The screen grew unbearably bright. I could hear footsteps. Felt cold fingers brush against my shoulder. The last thing I saw on the phone. Now you are him. And then, everything faded to black. Epilogue. Years passed. The house has long stood empty. People in the village say no one lives there because of bad energy. But one day, a boy came by. Just out of curiosity. He'd heard the stories. He wandered through the rooms, touched old furniture, laughed and said, "There's nothing scary here." Until he found the nightstand in the bedroom, and on it, a phone. Black, cold, with a small screen. He picked it up, and, miraculously, the battery was full. One message blinked on the screen. Don't open the door after midnight. The boy smirked and muttered, "Here we go." He had no idea that message was sent by his own hand. From the future. The end.